The geopolitical landscape of the Middle East was permanently altered at 9:27 a.m. Tehran time on Saturday, February 28, 2026. What began as a typical Saturday, the first day of the work week in Iran, turned into a nightmare of fire and glass. Under the joint command of the United States and Israel, a massive offensive code named Operation Epic Fury USA and Operation Rolling Lion Israel was unleashed. This was not a localized skirmish. It was a total multi-domain offensive aimed at the very head of the Iranian state. The attack was preceded by a digital execution. Iranian citizens found their smartphones suddenly useless as Israeli and US cyber commands launched a massive attack that paralyzed the nation's 4G and 5G networks, bringing internet connectivity down to a staggering 4%. State-run television was hijacked, replaced by a message urging the Iranian people to rise up against the regime. Moments later, the physical strike began. For over decades, locating Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was considered the holy grail of Middle Eastern intelligence. He did not use a smartphone. He rarely traveled by known convoys, and he lived within a labyrinth of underground bunkers known as the Nagaristan complex. So, how did Israel's Mossad and the CIA finally pin him down? The breakthrough came through a strategy of pattern of life analysis combined with high-level human infiltration. According to reports emerging on March 1st, 2026, Mossad had successfully recruited a high-ranking official within the Ansar al-Mahdi protection. The unit, the elite IRGC force responsible for the Supreme Leader's personal safety. This mole provided the crucial detail. A secret meeting was scheduled for Saturday morning at a specific safe house compound in central Tehran to discuss the final stages of nuclear weaponization. While Khamenei himself was dark, his advisors were not. The CIA and the Israel's Unit 8200 used a sophisticated digital mesh to track the encrypted signal of his top aides, including the Defense Minister Aziz Nazir Zadeh, by cross-referencing the physical location of these aids, secure devices with the human intelligence from the mole, they identified a synchronization point. In the final hours, invisible high-altitude stealth drones, likely the RQ-180 wide back monitored the compound using thermal imaging. They waited until a specific three-car armored convoy entered the courtyard. At that moment, the target was confirmed as a positive. Once the location was confirmed, the execution was clinical. The primary objective was to eliminate the Iranian leadership in a single decisive blow. Israeli fighter jets flying in a stealth corridor created by US electronic warfare planes dropped 30 specialized bunker buster bombs of the Pasteur district compound, the most secure government complex in Tehran. These were not standard explosives. They were designed to delay their detonation until they had pierced through 20 feet of reinforced concrete, ensuring that even the deepest bunkers were collapsed. The strike was so precise that while the leadership compound was vaporized, civilian residential building just 200 meters away remained standing, a terrifying display of surgical power. By the evening of March 1st, global media outlets, including the BBC and Al Jazeera, cited the intelligence reports that Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in the strike. His compound was reduced to grey dust and debris, effectively ending a decades-long era of Iranian leadership. The damage extended far beyond that. In the span of 24 hours, coordinated by AI-driven command system, 500 distinct targets across 28 Iranian provinces were struck. Beyond the leadership compound, targets included the Ministry of Intelligence, the Atomic Energy Headquarters, and the Judiciary Building. Massive strike hit uranium enrichment facilities near QOA, the research centers in Karachi, and the primary enrichment sites at Isfahan and Natanz. The latter were hit with kinetic cyber attacks causing centrifuges to spin out of control and explode, followed by physical cruise missile strikes. Underground missile silos in Kermanshah and Tabriz were targeted to prevent a massive retaliatory launch. These sites were part of a sortie involving over 200 Israeli fighter jets, the largest combat operation in the history of the Israeli actors. IRGC Navy bases in Bushehr, Bandar Abbas, and Asaluye were neutralized to prevent the mining of the Strait of Hormuz and eliminate Iran's ability to retaliate in the Persian Gulf. Operation Epic Fury was a showcase of next generation military hardware. The US deployed the low cost unmanned combat attack system, LUCAS, for the first time in combat history. These drones were used to flood Iranian radar, acting simultaneously as decoys and suicide attackers to clear the way for stealth jets. While jets took the lead, the US Navy launched the Tomahawk cruise missile from the Mediterranean and Arabian Seas, while HIMARS unit in the neighboring countries provided long-range ground-to-ground fire support. The coordination of 500 targets in just 24 hours was managed by AI-driven command system, allowing the US and Israel to achieve a degree of tactical surprise that overwhelmed Iran's Russian-made S-300 air defense system. Iran's response codename Operation Truthful Promise 4 turned the entire Middle East into a combat zone. The IRGC launched hundreds of ballistic missiles and drones not merely at Israel but at every nation, forcing US military answer, dragging the entire region into the fire within 48 hours. The underground state sirens blared from Haifa to Eilat, while Israel's Arrow 3 and Iron Dome systems intercepted the majority of the 300 plus incoming projectiles. Some penetrated the shield. A missile struck an apartment complex in Ramat Gan and causing widespread panic. And in Haifa, 94 people were reported wounded. The Israeli Ministry of Health took the unprecedented step of moving all major hospitals entirely underground. A crisis of stability, the UAE, once the region's bastion of stability, saw conflict land on its doorstep. For the first time in its history, a direct hit was reported on an industrial zone near Zayed International Airport in Abu Dhabi, killing one person and injuring seven, marking the first combat death on UAE soil since the nation's founding. In Dubai, a drone strike hit the sport area and shrapnel from interception caused four injuries on the shrapnel from interception caused injuries on the Palm Jumeirah. For the first time over, the UAE government sent a seek immediate shelter emergency alert to every mobile phone in the country. Targeting the fleet, the US Navy's 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain was a primary target. Residents in Manama reported earth-shaking explosion as the base was struck by a swarm of 40 kamikaze drones, while the base sea ram defenses worked overtime. Three buildings were destroyed and dozens of sailors were injured. Intercepted missiles over the capital damaged the Crown Plaza Hotel, the largest US base under fire. The Al Udeid Air Base, the largest US military hub in the region, was targeted by waves of medium-range ballistic missiles and kamikaze. Qatari government ordered a total blackout of the city of Doha to hinder Iranian targeting system. Kuwait reported 3 soldiers injured and 12 civilians caught in the blast radius of interception. The Kuwaiti government suspended all trading on Bausa, Hawaii, and closed its airspace entirely. In Jordan, the kingdom became a primary corridor for intercepting the Iranian missiles headed for Israel, with the Jordanian Air Force shooting down Iranian drones entering its airspace, a move that led to a swift diplomatic break between Oman and Tehran. Northern Iraq, particularly near Erbil, saw several interceptions. In Syria, where Iranian proxies are most active, 4 civilians were killed during retaliatory strikes by Israeli jets targeting IRGC supply line. The global economy entered a state of panic on what analysts have described as a Black Sunday. Oil and the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC officially declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. Maritime VHF radio broadcast warned that no ship was permitted to pass. This choke point handles 20% of the world's oil, approximately 20 million barrels per day. The closure enforced Brent crude prices, previously at $72 per barrel, have become effectively unpriced, as no one can reliably project a ceiling. Analyst estimates a range from $100 to $120 by end of week to $150 per barrel by Monday. All shipping insurance for the Persian Gulf has been cancelled, and the global supply chain for electronics and car parts are expected to freeze within 72 hours. Gold has shattered all records, trading near $5,200 per ounce on Sunday morning as investors fled equities and panic bought physical gold amid constant cyber attacks on Middle Eastern digital banking system. Gulf stock markets have plummeted. The Saudi Tadawul index dropped 4.6% in the opening hour of trading. Major airlines, including Emirates and Qatar Airways, have grounded hundreds of flights, causing the biggest disruption to global aviation since the 2020 pandemic. The human response, there's a surreal divide. While state of media broadcasts images of mourning and nationalist fervor, underground reports and social media videos shows pockets of the population, particularly the youth, cautiously celebrating the death of the supreme leader, hoping for an end to decades of theocratic rule. Yet the tragedy of civilian deaths, including the reported strike on primary school in Mina, has simultaneously fueled deep-seated anger against the Western intervention. From Lebanon, Hezbollah to Yemen, the Houthis, the mentality across Iran's proxy network is one of of war. The Houthis have already resumed attack on Red Sea shipping. The Hezbollah has begun a massive buildup on Israel's northern border. The Iranian Red Crescent Society has reported at least 201 killed and 747 injured in the first 36 hours. This includes at least 110 civilians. On the US Israeli side, while military casualties remain classified, at least one Israeli civilian have been killed, and dozens of one personnel across Gulf bases have been treated for shrapnel injuries. As of March 1st, 2026, the world stands on the brink of a new era, with Iranian leadership in a state of collapse. Its nuclear program, set back by years of precision strikes, and the region's oil lifeline under threat. The second Iran war is no longer a possibility, it is a reality. The next few days will determine whether this conflict can be contained to the Middle East or whether it will ignite a global fire that draws in China, Russia, and the entire Western alliance. Let's meet on the next video. Until then, it's bye from Bharat. Bye bye. Have a nice day.